Welcome along to all my fellow strange historians in the Strange History Society's study group. A while back we did a live stream talking about The Wizard of Oz, and here is some of what we discussed. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is a children's novel written by L. Frank Baum. It was published in the year 1900. The book tells the story of a young girl named Dorothy who, along with her dog Toto, is swept away to the magical land of Oz by a tornado. In Oz, Dorothy befriends a scarecrow, a tin man, and a cowardly lion, and together they embark on a quest to meet the Wizard of Oz and ask for his help in returning Dorothy to her home in Kansas. Now, we're still talking about the book, you guys. We haven't gotten to the movie yet. The book was an immediate success upon its publication. It has since become a beloved classic of children's literature. The book's popularity inspired Baum to create a series of sequels, most of which you probably never even heard about, right? Everybody knows The Wizard of Oz, but you probably don't know about the sequels, but they were pretty popular too, including The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, and The Emerald City of Oz, and so many others. The book was adapted into a successful stage musical in 1902, which toured extensively, and that helped to cement the story's place in popular American culture. The book has also been adapted numerous times for film and television, with the most famous, of course, being the 1939 flick The Wizard of Oz, which starred Judy Garland as Dorothy. The book has been translated into over 50 languages and has sold millions of copies worldwide. You see, the book's theme of adventure and friendship and the power of imagination have resonated with generations of readers, and it continues to inspire new adaptations and interpretations of the story. Hopefully, it'll never be remade into another movie, and I kind of get the feeling that Hollywood sucks so badly lately, and they've got no ideas, and it's just a matter of time before they ruin that. But the 1939 one is amazing. It always will be. But we haven't even gotten to that part yet. We're still talking about the book. Now, as far as the inspiration, Baum was inspired to write The Wizard of Oz based on his experiences living in the Midwest of the United States, where tornadoes were a common occurrence, and by his interest in fairy tales and fantasy literature. Let's talk a little bit about L. Frank Baum, shall we? So he was an American author, best known for writing the children's novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and its sequels. He was born in a place called Chittenango, New York in 1856, and he spent much of his early life working as a salesman and as a journalist. He started writing children's books in the 1890s, and The Wizard of Oz, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, was the first major success. I mean, seriously, this book was an instant hit, and Baum went to write 13 more Oz books over the course of his career. In addition to his work as a writer, Baum was also an advocate for women's suffrage and other progressive causes. He was a member of the Theosophical Society, which is a spiritual organization that believed in reincarnation and the unity of all religions. Unfortunately, Mr. Baum died in 1919, but his legacy has lived on through his enduringly popular Oz books, as well as numerous adaptations and spin-offs, including stage plays, films, and TV shows. Now, of course, when somebody bought the book, it was the story that they were mainly interested in, but the original illustrations for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz were pretty incredible, too. You see, they were created by a gentleman named W.W. Denslow. He was an American illustrator and a cartoonist who worked with L. Frank Baum on several other children's books in addition to The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. His illustrations for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz were really innovative for their time, and they helped to establish this kind of visual language, let's say, of the Oz universe. And his depiction of Dorothy and the other characters have really become iconic, and they're instantly recognizable to readers and fans of the story. And the success of the book and its illustrations helped to launch Denslow's career as an illustrator, and it really cemented his place in the history of children's literature. Now, I mentioned a little bit about the inspiration for the book, but I got some more to say about that, and we talked about it. He drew inspiration for The Land of Oz from a variety of sources. Some scholars have suggested that Baum was inspired by the utopian literature of the time, which often featured idealized societies governed by benevolent leaders. Others have pointed to the influence of Baum's personal experiences, such as his time spent living in the Midwest of the USA, where tornadoes were a frequent occurrence. And so, for example, the cyclone that sweeps Dorothy away and takes her to Oz at the beginning of the story was thought to be a reflection of Baum's own experiences with these violent storms. Baum was also an avid reader of fairy tales and fantasy literature, and he drew upon these genres for inspiration when creating the world of Oz. The fantastic creatures and the magical landscape of Oz can be seen as a reflection of Baum's interest in these types of stories. Additionally, some scholars have suggested that Baum's experiences as a traveling salesman may have influenced the story, as the novel features a journey through a strange and unfamiliar land similar to the experiences of a traveling salesman. Ultimately, the inspiration for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is likely a complex combination of these and other factors, and reflects Baum's unique vision as an author and a storyteller. One thing that anything I've ever read about The Wizard of Oz, as far as the inspiration, L. Frank Baum, they seem to leave out, and there's no way I'm the only person who thinks this, but the way that it's a template for mythic storytelling structure, the hero's journey. And so I talk about that, and there's too much to talk about at this time concerning that. So if you want to hear more about my thoughts concerning that, then go ahead and check out the live stream if you can. You know, also, there's another thing, the inspiration for Oz. Some have suggested that there's evidence that, for example, the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, it was also known as the World's Columbian Exposition, may have inspired L. Frank Baum in the creation of the Land of Oz. You see, the fair, this was a massive event. It attracted millions of visitors from not only around the United States, but around the world, and it showcased the latest technological advancements and cultural achievements of the time. And one of the key attractions of the fair was what was called the White City. And this was a group of buildings that was designed in a neoclassical style and decorated with elaborate sculptures and murals. Many visitors to the fair were struck by the beauty and grandeur of the White City, and some have suggested that Baum may have been inspired by this vision of a utopian city when creating the Emerald City of Oz. In particular, the use of white and green in the design of the buildings at the fair may have influenced Baum's use of these colors in his descriptions of the Emerald City. Additionally, some scholars have noted similarities between the layout of the fairgrounds and the structure of Oz, as depicted in Baum's novels, such as the Midway Plaisance, is that the proper way to say it? Who the hell knows? The agricultural building may have inspired Baum's creation of the different regions of Oz, such as the Winkie Country and the Quadling Country. Sorry, these are weird words. But anyway, while it's not clear to what extent the Chicago World's Fair directly inspired Baum's creation of Oz, it is clear that the fair had a profound impact on American culture and the popular imagination of the time, and may have played a role in shaping Baum's vision as a writer. Now let's talk about the movie. That's what we're really here for, right? The Wizard of Oz. It's a 1939 musical fantasy film produced by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. I just say MGM. You probably do too. And here's some facts about the movie. 1. The film is based on L. Frank Baum's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. 2. The Wizard of Oz stars Judy Garland as Dorothy Gale, a young girl from Kansas who is transported to the magical land of Oz after a tornado. 3. The film also features memorable performances by Ray Bolger as the Scarecrow, Burt Lahr as the Cowardly Lion, and Jack Haley as the Tin Man. 4. The role of the Wicked Witch of the West is played by Margaret Hamilton, who reportedly received severe burns on her face and hands during the filming of her character's fiery exit from the story. 5. The film was directed by Victor Fleming, who also directed another classic film of the era. You may have heard of it. It was called, still is called, Gone with the Wind. 6. The Wizard of Oz was a box office success upon its release, grossing over $3 million in its initial run. 7. The film won 2 Academy Awards for Best Original Song, Over the Rainbow, and Best Original Score. 8. The Wizard of Oz has become a cultural icon and is widely regarded as one of the greatest films in American cinema history. Damn freaking straight. I agree with that. 9. The film has been adapted into various stage productions, including a successful Broadway musical, and has inspired countless spin-offs, parodies, and tributes in popular culture. And 10. Scott Cardinal thinks it's one of the greatest movies ever freaking made, and he can watch it a zillion times. So, yeah, take his word for it. Why am I referring to myself in third person? That doesn't matter. Anyway, great movie. Check it out. I love it. You'll love it. Everybody loves it. By the way, you're probably saying, what's this hero's journey thing he's talking about? Let me just say really quickly, because we did talk about it in the live stream. The hero's journey is a common narrative pattern that has been identified in many stories and myths from around the world. It was first described by Joseph Campbell in his wonderful book. This is a great book. It's kind of a complicated book, but it's a good book. The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and has since been popularized in films, literature, and other forms of storytelling. The hero's journey typically consists of 3 main phases. So 1, you got the departure. So the hero sets out on a journey or a quest, often leaving behind their familiar world and entering an unknown or a magical one. This phase may include the hero encountering a mentor figure who provides guidance and wisdom. 2, and by the way, once you know this stuff, you'll see it everywhere. You'll see this in movies for the rest of your life. So I hope I'm not ruining movies and books for you, but just telling you it's there. 2, initiation. The hero faces a series of challenges and trials that test their skills, their strength, and their character. This phase may include battles with monsters and tests of courage, or encounters with supernatural forces. And then you got the 3rd part, the return. The hero returns to their ordinary world, often bringing back some sort of knowledge or treasure that they have gained on their journey. This phase may also involve the hero confronting their past and making amends for any mistakes they have made. You see, the hero's journey, and I talk about this a lot. If you're familiar with any of my videos, I can't shut up about this stuff. You see, the hero's journey is often seen as a metaphor for personal growth and transformation, with the hero, which could be you, by the way, representing the individual's journey through life and the challenges they must face along the way. And you got stories like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. All of these follow the hero's journey pattern. In fact, watch the movie Willow, the original, and it's like, it is on the dime. I mean, that is like a case study in mythic storytelling structure. In fact, it's a great movie, and everybody loves it, but it's difficult for people like me to watch, because I can almost sit there with a stopwatch and be like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you can kind of like see what's coming next, but either way, it's enjoyable. In fact, we talked about these heroes' journey. You see, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz can be seen as following the pattern of the hero's journey. Like I said, it's a common mythic structure in many classic stories and myths. So here are some ways in which Dorothy's journey fits the pattern. You ready? So, number 1, we talked about departure. So the hero sets out on a journey. Now in the film, Dorothy is swept away by a tornado and she's transported to the magical land of Oz. 2, you got the initiation. So that's the hero, Dorothy, yeah? She faces a series of challenges and trials. So in Oz, she's got to find her way to the Emerald City, and she meets allies, right? And then she has to eventually confront the Wicked Witch of the West in order for her to find a way back home. And then 3, you got the threshold. So the hero crosses a threshold from the ordinary world into the magical or mythical world. Now for Dorothy, This occurs when she first enters Oz and discovers the fantastical creatures and the landscapes that inhabit it. And so then you got things like the mentor, right? So the hero, Dorothy, receives guidance or assistance from a mentor figure. Now in the film, Dorothy is helped along the way by Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, but she's also helped by the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion, who join her on her journey. So in some ways they're a mentor, they're also her allies. Toto also, we talked about that. Toto in many ways is a mentor and also a herald of change. You also have transformation, okay? The hero undergoes a transformation, either physical or psychological. Now in Dorothy's case, she gains confidence and courage, right? As she faces various challenges and she learns to rely on her own resourcefulness and inner strength. And of course you also have atonement, right? So the hero makes amends for past mistakes or seeks redemption. Dorothy attempts to make amends with the Wicked Witch of the West, and ultimately she saves the people of Oz from her tyranny. And of course, we all know about the return. The hero returns to the ordinary world, bringing back an elixir, right? And that could be knowledge, it could be a treasure from their journey. With the Wizard of Oz, you got Dorothy. She returns to Kansas with a newfound appreciation for her home and her family, and a greater sense of self-confidence and courage. And so, yeah, overall, Dorothy's journey in The Wizard of Oz follows many of the key stages of the hero's journey, making her a classic example of the mythic hero in popular culture. We talked a lot about archetypes in The Wizard of Oz during the live stream. So, The Wizard of Oz, it's a story that contains several archetypes. Those are universal symbols and characters that appear in myths and stories and dreams across cultures. Now, here are some that are represented in the story. So you got the hero, Dorothy, right? She's the hero of the story. She's the one who embarks on a journey to find her way back home, and she faces various challenges and obstacles along the way. You got the mentor. So you got Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. She serves as the main mentor for Dorothy. She's the one who provides guidance and support throughout her journey and gives her magical gifts, doesn't she? She does, right? So you know about mythic storytelling, like, Greek stories, right? The Iliad, Odysseus with in the Odyssey, and the gifts. You've got Jason and the Argonauts. We got so many stories where the gods on Mount Olympus, right, the mentors, would give gifts for the hero. And you can see that in James Bond. You can see that in a lot of different movies where the mentor says, look, here are some things that you're going to need for your journey. And in many cases, it saves them, right? Saves them a lot of times. You got the shadow. The Wicked Witch of the West represents the shadow, or the dark and repressed aspects of the human psyche. She is the primary antagonist in the story, and she serves as a foil to Dorothy's heroic journey. Then you got the trickster, right? Now that's interesting because the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, they play all kinds of different roles. They play the mentors in some ways, they play allies obviously, but they could even be seen as trickster archetypes because they provide comic relief and they add an element of whimsy to the story. Then you have Threshold Guardians. For those of you who listen to my videos, you hear me say Threshold Guardians probably way too many freaking times, but you've got like the Gatekeeper of the Emerald City. He represents the Threshold Guardian. He blocks the hero's progress until they prove themselves worthy to pass. And we've talked about allies already with the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, but you even have Munchkins. The Munchkins could be considered to be allies to Dorothy because they aid her in her journey by providing her direction, follow the Yellow Brick Road, information, and a little bit of assistance. So these archetypes are important because they help to create a deeper meaning and resonance in the story, tapping universal themes and experiences that are shared by all humans. We also talked about some trivia concerning the Wizard of Oz movie, so I think we've already discussed most of them. I'll just go over a bunch. The movie was released in 1939. It starred Judy Garland as Dorothy Gale. The film was directed by Victor Fleming, who also directed Gone with the Wind in the same year. The movie was based on L. Frank Baum's book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The film was one of the first to use Technicolor, which made the colors in the movie appear more vibrant and intense. And the song Over the Rainbow, sung by Judy Garland, won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. The film was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, but lost to Gone with the Wind. The movie was a box office success, and it became a cultural phenomenon, spawning merchandise and spin-offs and adaptations. The famous ruby slippers that Dorothy wears in the movie were originally silver in the book, but were changed to red for the film. The dog that played Toto in the movie was actually named Terry and was paid a salary of $125 per week. Let's be honest, it was the trainer that got paid that, but okay. And let's see, the Wicked Witch of the West was played by actress Margaret Hamilton, who, by the way, had done other work too, and pretty awesome. But, you can't look at her ever again and be like, it's the Wicked Witch of the West. But anyway, she was so frightening in the role that even when she went out in public afterward, many children were scared of her. That's kind of sad, right? Anyway, I can continue talking about this forever, but go watch the live stream. The live stream is pretty good. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Actually, we did 2 different live streams on it. And these are just some notes that were sent to me by one of our fellow strange historians of like, hey, this is the type of stuff that I learned, and, saved me the trouble of having to tell you all this on my own. So if this is what people learned, I'm really happy that they did. And so this concludes this episode of The Strange History of The Wizard of Oz. Well, the recap anyway. If you enjoyed this video, kindly hit the like button and share this video with others, and subscribe to my channel and become a member of my channel if you can. That would be awesome. Do yourself a favor, go to a local shelter and adopt a cat or a dog or both. You'll be very glad that you did. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.